This is George Dionne of the Rock is George podcast, and this is a KNAC.com exclusive interview with frontman John Diva of the throwback glam metal act John Diva and the Rockets of Love. If I knew absolutely nothing about John Diva and the Rockets of Love, how would you describe the band's music to me?
Well, it's a blast to the past from the 80s. That's where we're based sound-wise. This is our third album. The first one was called Mama Said Rock is Dead, and it made a huge impression, went to the Billboard charts in Germany and some other European countries, and put us on the scene. I would say we kind of come from the hair metal, glam rock past, but we're trying to carry the torch towards the future, or let's at least say 23. So what you can expect is like oozing guitars, crazy guitar stunt solos, arena rock, and a big heart for rock and roll and colorful live shows.
When did you put this project together?
It's about 10 years ago. We started as a joke, like mostly, like drinking a lot of schnapps, I suppose. And one of us said, no, we're going to really do it. And he remembered the last night. We didn't, but he did. He wasn't that hungover. He said, we're going to do that. And he put together a band. And we had the chance to play in Wacken Festival, which is a huge metal festival over here, 3 years in a row. And that put us on a map. And then we decided, hey, let's write our own music. And this is our third album now. So it's 10 years now.
So before we get to the new album, The Big Easy, I wanted to ask, you brought up Wacken, and I wanted to ask you that your first album was actually a live album from Wacken. So how does this band that virtually busts on the scene get their first exposure at Wacken?
I mean, sometimes I think it's hard work, and then at a certain time you have luck. You're just lucky that you know the right guy, and that right guy calls the right guy, says, believe me, this is a cool band. You might have not heard from them, but they're cool. And the coolest thing was we played Wacken, and you had all the bands with the unreadable names, everything black, pink, black. Oh, who are the pink guys? So, and that made a big impression. And since then, we're on the map over here in Germany, and Wacken is great. It's like a Woodstock for metal dudes, and it's a great community. So once you're in, you always have these people on your shows, traveling to your shows, see you. And besides, there's a lot of smaller festivals that all belong to the Wacken universe. So you go on a cruise ship, you go skiing, they have a holiday in Mallorca and stuff like that. So we've been traveling with them. And as you said, it put us on the map without really having our own stuff. So the first album was mostly a tribute album.
Okay, the new album comes out on March 17th. It's called The Big Easy through Steamhammer SPV, and it kind of keeps those 80s vibes alive, as you say. Let's talk a little bit about the singles you have out now, if you want to tell the story behind The Big Easy.
Yeah, this album we put together in dark times. We started writing 1 year ago, and that was still in the middle of the pandemic. I mean, we're almost forgetting how that was. But I do remember we couldn't tour. We just came back from our American Amadeus tour, which crumbled away because, we were playing against time, against the lockdowns, and it just didn't work. And, to save ourselves from depression, we said, let's go back to the studio, do the next one. And JJ Love, one of our guitar players, said, hey, no matter what we do, I want to do a summer album because this is missing right now. I need warm feelings. And, we're a California band. We're a positive band, but we're not feeling so good right now. So let's motivate ourselves and our fans once this will come out and write a positive album. And no matter what we do, I just want the title to be The Big Easy. We said, sounds great. Let's do it. We have a plan.
All right, let's talk about a couple of the other songs that you've released ahead of the album. Let's talk a little bit about Runaway Train. Kind of seemed to be a big subject for bands in the 80s. There was either a runaway train or there was a back against the wall.
Of course, we like to kind of play ping pong with some cliches, but we hope to bring them into a new corner somehow, or to paint it a little bit differently, because actually I don't think you can be the same band than than I would have been in the 80s. You know, we're different people now. I'm a different man than Vince Neil was in his 20s or 30s, and I'm happy about that. And it's different times. And so, of course, we play with the cliches, with the wordings. But if you, for example, go into the lyrics of, let's say, the Big Easy, you hear that within the songs and the verses, it's a song that might be, well, at least pretty thoughtful, or maybe even political. At least it's reaching out to where we have been, where we want to be. Whereas Runaway Train is a classical, melancholic song about, you know, two kids trying to run away from small town life. Something we heard before very often. But then again, if you make it a personal story with a certain approach, these songs always hook again over and over.
Does the whole band write together, or are you the main lyricist?
I'm the main lyricist. I mean, JJ Love bringing in the Big Easy, that was his idea, but I took it from there. But we do write songs, the three of us. So it's Snake Rocket, JJ Love, both guitar players, and I.
Have you faced any difficulties along the way where this style of music and sort of the lifestyle that it promoted back in the 80s, which was carefree and, you know, party here, party that, 2023 is a different world that we're living in?
It is a different world. And I mean, I can still remember, you can probably tune a lot of your audience as well, how the 80s went down, you know, 91, 92, Nirvana coming up, and you know, you couldn't possibly listen to Winger anymore or something, all these things, you know. And I had the chance to play with Def Leppard a couple of years ago in Berlin, and I met the guys backstage. I literally walked into Joe Elliott and he said, "Hey, John, I watched all your videos and they were all hilarious." So he could see that this is a band that means something, that tries to carry on the torch at the same time with a twinkling eye. But this is it's a not so easy to balance out, because we really believe in what we do, and we're like strongly passionate about what we do. And at the same time, exactly what you said, it's not 1984 anymore. It's 2023, and we're not a political band, but still, I'm not singing songs like Lolita or American Amadeus right now anymore. I still sing them, but I don't write them anymore. Right now, the new material is about believing, about community, about, you know, keeping up. It's probably classical rock themes that we have there, but they come from the heart, because when I composed it, I was in a bad place. We all were. The whole world was. Still is.
In some parts, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Did Michael Voss return to produce this album?
Yeah. So he did all the 3 albums yet.
Okay, and how did you know Michael Voss to bring him on board to work on these albums?
We were like, with the first album, we weren't sure who could produce us. We were even thinking about Michael Wagner, because he's German, but, you know, obviously he's a big guy, and he still produces. And we were in contact with him. Well, let's say the budget wasn't really what we had in mind. And then Michael Voss actually proactively reached out to us and said, "Hey, guys, I love what you do. I can feel what you do, because I come from the same place, but I'm a little bit older. I've been there when you guys were still shitting your pants." And he produced some songs and said, "Listen to that. Maybe you like it." And we met and said, "Hey, great guy, great energy, great sound." And from then on, it's the 3rd album that we've been doing together. Good thing with Michael is he's a great singer, huge guitar player, and he has such a musical biography and a library in his head. So he's always inspiring to me when I'm singing my la la la, and he's like, "Yeah, that's good, but maybe try la la la." And I'm like, okay. And I trust that guy. I trust that guy to make me a bit better, and he does, and I love him for that.
The Big Easy is your 3rd album for Steamhammer SPV. How did you end up signing a deal with them?
Because of Wacken, you know, Germany has a very strong metal scene still. And then again, obviously, it's all been melting down. Classical labels, they've been much smaller, but they somehow survived, you know. SPV used to be big. I mean, they used to have, I think, more than 150 people employed. I think now it's a 10th of that. But still, they are, I mean, now we're talking, because you probably received a mail from them. They do an excellent job. They do a great promo, and they really know their shit. Obviously, they're not the most hippest label if it comes to, like, let's say modern social media promo, but that's okay. We can do that ourselves.
You're gonna head out on the Big Easy tour shortly. The tour's taking you through Germany, and you have April Art as your support act. What can fans kind of expect from the stage show of John Diva?
Yeah, man. I mean, George, I'm sitting here, and exactly in 1 week, I'm going to sit backstage for the first show. And I'm totally excited to go on tour again, because I really know this time it's going to work, you know? The tour is selling well. Nobody will shut it down. And I'm very positive about it. And obviously, it's going to be a mix of the 3 albums. We feature quite some new stuff from the Big Easy. We have a great stage design that's probably a mixture of the Miami Zoo and Miami Vice and whatever you would believe to need for a Big Easy show. It's going to be palm trees. It's going to be pink. It's going to be all over the place. We're going to have cheerleaders on stage and maybe some pyros. And I just received a message from our technical crew, and they're just building a little, what is it, like a show stairs with flashing lights. So it's going to be all you need, man. All taken care of.
Is this your first tour back after the pandemic?
It is. We did some shows last summer that was possible, you know, also to fill the bank account again. But this is the first tour again after 3 years.
Now that, you know, you guys are building up some momentum, do you have your eyes set on the United States at some point?
Oh, man, we would love to. I mean, definitely. I mean, the States have a very small eye on us right now. Now we're talking, I told you, we've been you know, interviewed by quite some US magazines and podcasts. Let's see. I mean, that would be a dream. I think it's not too far out of reach, but obviously we would maybe need to start with a festival or with a support tour. Let's see. In the end, it's all a question of budget. But I could believe maybe in 2 or 3 years, maybe go over to New York, for example, Massachusetts. That's not that far.
I see online people compare you to Steel Panther. I don't think that it's a fair comparison. They're doing something completely different. The only thing I see the same is maybe the throwback to the 80s things. But you guys are kind of 2 different bands, in my opinion. Do you think that the comparisons are fair to Steel Panther?
No, I agree with you. It's, you know, I mean, obviously I see that people compare us like on the superficially, because, you know, but then after the bandana and, you know, the going back to the 80s, it kind of ends already. I mean, I'm kind of happy that I'm not an ongoing vagina joke on stage. You know what I mean? And you know, I respect and love the guys. They do a great show, but you know, it's more comedy. And but besides that, I see a lot of bands around that kind of refer to the glam rock genre, and it probably will not make it to the stadiums anymore. I mean, Def Leppard and Mötley Crüe are just doing this in the States, but they probably won't do that over in Europe. I mean, they do, but, you know, maybe one stadium a country. It's not that it's coming back in a big wave, but I see a lot of bands reaching out for that genre. And I think with glam rock, it's so much fun and so playful. If you look back to the 70s, it was not that much in the 70s. It was more playful with Bowie, T-Rex. And so glam rock probably has a lot of things to tell in a difficult world right now, where you could argue about everything, you know. I don't want to argue. I just want to have fun. And everybody's invited to a John Diva show, you know, no matter how you dress or how you feel. And I think that's probably the same with Steel Panther. Everybody can go out and enjoy him or herself. And that's great about the guys and about the genre.
The 80s rock scene was known for its excess and debauchery and, you know, crazy rock star behavior. You might not have the fuck you money that Mötley Crüe had at one time, but is there any crazy John Diva behavior that would rival those of the rock stars of the 80s?
Oh man, I mean, you know, we're trying our best, and I think we had some wild years. I mean, isn't it peculiar that in the minute you have a band on stage that really rocks, that is really cool, and I mean, obviously, one could say, hey, these guys, they wear tight pants, looks a little bit ridiculous. But as once we're on stage and we get the power going, there's the certain turning point. people go insane, and it's always the same. The girls love it. The boys go crazy. Everybody's fucked up. Everybody drinks and is partying. And it's been the same ever since. So that hasn't changed. And that is, I'm sometimes I ponder about this energy, why that is, but it is that way still. So, we had our share of wasted hotel rooms, after show parties, not sleeping for a couple of days, waking up in a bed where you fucking, how did I get here? And all these kind of things, and, rock star is an attitude. And maybe sometimes it's good you don't have that budget because, at a certain point, if the big money rolls in, the big problems roll in at the same time. And I must say, after 10 years, we as a brotherhood are very strong, stronger than we were before. And we're kind of looking out for each other. And so far, nobody had to go to the Betty Ford Clinic.
Can you think about any Spinal Tap moments that you might have had throughout your 10-year career where, everything just went comically wrong?
I mean, I remember our drummer just like literally falling from stage, which when you're there is so funny because suddenly the beat is missing and you just turn around and he's gone, it just fell off. And I mean, like, very often it is the shows that you look forward to and say, this is going to be great. If you're too self-assured about it, mostly something goes terribly wrong. We had the last show of the summer in Hamburg, and Hamburg is a strong city for us. Everything was going fine. And then obviously one small USB stick was missing to make our whole system run or not run. So within the show, our technical crew had to build it from in-ear monitoring to classical monitors. And the whole show was one loud screaming, no, up and down, and still trying to do a show. And like, I was so stressed, everybody was. And afterwards we just, fell apart. I mean, there's probably a lot of more stories that I'm kind of not remembering right now. But we're going to create new stories from next Friday on.
Well, I would say your drummer falling off the riser is a lot better than him spontaneously combusting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, a lot of bands in the 80s, their frontman went solo, put out a solo project. Has John Diva thought about doing a little side solo thing when there's downtime from the band?
Not yet. I mean, we're at the best moment right now. I mean, I'm really happy we made 3 albums, because 3 albums is just something where you can say, yeah, man, that's a serious band. And you never know, but right now we really want to put it on the street. And the good thing is my songwriting mingles perfectly with Snake's and JJ's. If I would write myself, I probably would sound a bit more folkish, or it would maybe even go Bruce Springsteen-ish or Tom Petty-ish, and then at a certain time maybe a bit like David Lee Roth in his California Girls time. So it would definitely go somewhere else. And this goes for the other guys. JJ Love would probably write the best Van Halen albums never published, and Snake would be too bluesy, but the combination really puts us in the right place. So right now, not, but then again, John Diva, I can see myself in Vegas. So let's see. Ask me in 3 years again.
Well, those are all the questions I have for you, John. The new album is The Big Easy. It's out March 17th through Steamhammer SPV. Sounds great. You should be proud of it. And I look forward to catching you somewhere out there in the future.
George, it was really nice talking to you. Take good care. Thanks for taking an eye on John Diva. And we're going to rock over here and make it loud so maybe America hears us next time.